And we're back at Snetterton for the media day in the ARLTC. Adam Bath here with Sam Fitzpatrick, and you've missed, just 2 laps of the first race of the evening. And we're currently looking at Jason Cooper, who's starting to apply the pressure, Sam, on Kieran Harrison, who has been, the revelation of the media day. Qualified on pole. I did wonder whether he moved before the lights went out, but he hasn't been into servo penalty, and here he is leading on his unofficial debut ahead of the start of the season next week.
Yeah, it's not a bad way to make your mark. He was on pole position by about a 1/10 of a second, and he's been kept honest, but from this position, it's very much in his hands. We've had a few incidents just behind, one of them involving Josh Thompson, and I think Cedric as well. Actually, Cedric's still in 3rd position, so he managed to get through that, but Thompson unfortunately dropped to the back of the order, and that's why it's quite spread out at the moment. It should be a little bit closer for race 2 coming up in a bit. There you can see the slightly separated drivers. Harrison, though, 3/10 of a second ahead. Cedric catching up to these guys, but then it's the pack from 8th to 9th to 10th, and all after that down to about 20th place. All extremely close at the moment.
Looking here at Ross McFarlane, the reigning champion, who has got a bit of damage to the front of his car. He was involved in a massive group that you mentioned, ended up coming to blows with Josh Thompson earlier. But he's carried on nonetheless. He's up 4 places, along with Craig Williams, who's right behind him. Biggest mover in the top 10 is another newcomer, and he's Kieran Harrison's teammate. So HM Engineering are really going to be one to watch out for. It's Norbert Leitner in a 9th place there. You can see him there, the 29 car, and he's currently trying to get by Michael Evdoka, who we also spoke to before the start of the show. Pete Newman just behind there in the Freem UK car. I was getting a bit confused there because Pete Newman's car's got the colour of the Hungarian flag, and Norbert Liner's just in front of him, so I was trying to differentiate the two, but it is a Newman in that car, and it is a Norbert Liner in the red and black car that's trying to get by Michael Evdoka in the Pure Sims OBP car as they come over the line to start the stick flag for the race.
Yes, and looks as though there was a move there for Craig Williams, just going past Ross McFarlane. I believe that was a move. I don't think it was a defence from Williams there, and he has been able to make that overtake and defence it into the hairpin as well. So Williams up into 5th place, up 5 places from his start, past the defending champ. I mean, you watched the series more than me, obviously, last season, Adam, but from what I could see at least, wasn't necessarily the fastest. I mean, I think he only got 2 or 3 victories across the season, and you think we have about 40 odd races during the championship. We only won 2 or 3. Crucially, one of them was at the last round of the championship. There was that consistency they managed to nail in, which Savidovic managed to do the season before as well, which brought him the championship. So I don't think it'll be too worried that at the moment he's the threat of potentially falling down a few more places.
But it's a thing that's not in this championship anymore as of the start of this season next week, and it's the fact that we don't have to showdown anymore. Just make sure you get into the top 10, then the points are reset, and then you go, and then you could end up winning the championship, which is what Ross McFarlane did. And of course, he is very talented in this car, as you can just see as he gets as he's getting passed there by Norbert Liner, Michael Evdoka, and Matthew Turnbull. So I wonder if there might be a little bit of damage to the car that may be hampering him at all, as he's now under pressure from Pete Newman going into the Wilson hairpin, and now cutting through the 300 layout and back onto the Bentley straight, formerly the Revit straight. And then you've got the very difficult braking zone where you've got to try and brake and turn the car at the same time. And Pete Newman there in the Freem car, it looks like he's going to get by McFarlane. So too Simon Trendle, there he is in the Team Chimera car, familiar to those in the Neos, as they mentioned earlier in the interview. And there he is, up into the top 10, and 8 places gained. A lot of positions getting gained and lost here in the opening race, Sam, which is something that we don't often see until the reverse grid races. Usually it's kind of rigid in terms of where everybody qualifies race 1, but here, at least on the media day, everybody's swapping positions left, right and centre.
Yeah, definitely. I think it will take the pressure off slightly, the fact that the drivers know the reverse grid for this season. If you do fall down maybe outside the top 20 as John Roberts. Oh, well, he's managed to almost collide with one of his teammates there. That was Simon Field, who's off into the fields right there. And they've kind of scuppered themselves a little bit there. That's just outside the reverse grid places. 32nd and 33rd, top 30 get reversed. And so they're putting them in threat. And at the moment, their teammate, Sean Gardner, is at battle. And let's just say he's going to lose out to Matthias Sower currently. That's for 19th and 20th. That was easy enough there. Michael Abdoka, I think, just moving ahead of Craig Williams as well. Abdoka flying along. Of course, did fight for the championship last season, has fought for the World GT Championship before as well, as Williams gives him a little bit of a tap, wants to stay alongside, and look who's this. Going around the outside, Abdoka gets slightly tapped around, it's sort of going to be 3 wide, it is going to be 3 wide, trying to make it 4 wide, and they all collide into one another. They're now having to really slow up, trying not to make a collision. And, well, how that hasn't worked out worse, I do not know. Trendle is the unfortunate party there. He was just behind it all, and he drops, I think, about 7 places there, down to 15.
Yeah, just ahead of Jamie Rushworth, who looks like he's joined Freem UK for this season. And I tell you what, yeah, that could have been a lot worse, because if you do end up on that grass, then you are pretty much destined not to return for quite some time. I think Trendle was quite lucky there, otherwise it could have been curtains for him. And there's someone that's been tipped sideways. The Team Mad car's also followed in the same way. That is Mark Woodhouse, who is backed into the wall, and it was one of the Pure Sims cars. I think it might have been, well, it might have been Michael Evdoka. We mentioned just before on the previous lap just how well he was doing, but alas, that is no longer the case. Well, at least he's not doing as well as he was earlier. He's now in 12th, and also watch out for another of the Pure Sims cars that might be in a little bit of strife there. Here is George Simmons. He is battling with Simon Trendle and Jamie Rushworth, hopping over the curb on the inside there. And Trendle's looking at the inside here. Let's not forget, we have a slightly different format for the evening. Oh, where's Simmons gone? There he is. It's not what Trendle wants to see, and not what Rushworth wants to see either. There's nothing worse than having a car blinking in and out in front of you. I had that in the Kia Classic, which Jamie organised. Jamie Rushworth, who we're on board with, which we had on this channel as well. Oh, and he's run wide as Trendle, and I think Jamie Rushworth's going to get by.
Yeah, Trendle, I think we're still a decently clean car, but it's starting to fall down. Now he's going to have McFarlane very close to him. Trendle just staying down the inside at the moment, and actually getting ahead of McFarlane there, so 1.3 seconds faster on that last lap, and McFarlane drops a little bit further down to 16th place, now 7 places lower than where he started, but still within that reverse grid, and that's what I was talking about earlier on. If you know where the reverse grid is, you're a bit more willing to give up places. In one sense, I think it's going to relax the driving slightly this season, because if you're in 20th place and you know it's a reverse grid 30, you're like, oh, okay, I'll move a little bit further up later on. Of course, you really want to finish in that 30th if you're running outside the top 30, as Williams, where he's making no friends out there at the moment. He makes contact with Dave Baker right there, and Williams blocking the circuit at the moment. It seems like he's got so much damage on that car. He's falling a long way back, was formerly in 5th place, as, well, Boosted aren't liking that corner at the moment. It's Adam Hedgecock this time, well off the circuit. He'll stay in the top 30.
I feel for Sam Kumo. Rest in peace, the reverse grid wheel. After all these years, it has been put into retirement. That's a shame. But yeah, 9 laps to go, including this one. Hopping over the curb, there goes Sean Gardner in 22nd place. And the race order, as you can see from the timing tower, it is Harrison that leads, and it's Cooper, then Sedgwick, Simpson, Newman, Leitner, then Turnbull, Williams, Oscar Mangan up in P9. We may have lost Ross Balfour, but Core Sim Racing have got a man from the also from the Isle of Ireland in Oscar Mangan. And oh no, Thompson has been clattered into, and I think he's also in turn hit Oscar Mangan. So from the Isle of Man goes Josh Thompson off the circuit, and from the other side of the Irish Sea, Oscar Mangan, he also gets tipped into a spin as well.
Yeah, that's the second incident of the day. Having a few issues are those drivers. Yeah, Mangan, who also, of course, has driven in the World GT Championship for the title. That he finished second place a couple of seasons ago. And also in the Digital Motorsports Championship, former GT4 winner. Certainly one of the favourites for the title this season, as he does a little bit of a dummy further ahead of them. Dave Baker as well, making his way past George Simmons. And Mangan, is he going to get ahead here of Jamie Rushworth? Doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Rushworth just staying ahead and now getting a little bit freight trained there was Mangan. And he's a little bit offline as well, going onto the Bentley straight as well. So that move around the outside of the hairpin hasn't worked out for him. It can work slightly. You get the inside for the next corner. It's 3 wide just behind them. Trendle, Thompson, and McFarlane. 3 drivers who should be way further up the order. Could easily be in the top 5, all 3 of them, and yet they're fighting for some pretty small positions. They'll be thinking.
Yeah, of course, this reverse grid also throws into the equation. You could almost do what Jason Plato or Alan Menu used to do, where it was all of a sudden drop like a stone on the last lap. I don't think any of the drivers will be thinking about that too much. They'll be worried about getting as many points as they can on the board, but that is something that could potentially happen as the season goes along. 4.5 minutes to go. I think the time will run out before we complete the laps, at least in race 1 anyway. We'll be broadcasting 2 of the 3 races tonight, so just so we can get up on our feet again after a couple of weeks off, dust off the cobwebs in the commentary box and on the cameras as well, and then we'll be ready to go for the start of the season next week, which you will see on Apex Racing TV and on the iRacing Esports Network, I believe, from just after 8 o'clock British summer time. And isn't it just British summer at the moment? It is absolutely, over the last few days it's been absolutely baking anyway. Here's Dave Baker. That's no pun intended, I promise you. He's trying to get by. He's trying to accidental partridge. And we're in Norfolk as well, so quite apt. Dave Baker up the inside of George Simmons into the right-hander at the end of the back straight. Oh no, he clips the curb and in turn runs a little bit wide and allows Simmons up the inside into the bomb hole here. Round the outside goes Dave Baker. Will he be able to hang on to it though? There's not too much grip around that outside of Coram. And it means that George Simmons does indeed get by. So Simmons for Apex Racing team up into 9th, up 2 places. But Dave Baker is not intent to sitting behind him. Michael Evdoka, he's also getting drawn into the equation as well.
Just hope that these 2 don't take each other out. They're decently good friends, but just that damage on Simmons' car really costing him down the front straight. Now let's see if the outside line works this time. You know what, actually I think he's got such more momentum at the moment. We'll be able to see if the outside line works with Michael Evdoka now, who drives it in deep, too deep, and Simmons actually coming back at Baker as well. Needs to make sure that he doesn't quarter panel his opponent there, and managed not to do it, but I doubt he'll be able to really pull out of the slipstream and have a whole lot of speed. Simmons, you can see he pulls out and then straight away just falls back behind Baker. It's going to be very tricky for him to make that move to the end of the race. He's going to go for it though. Turns into the outside for the next corner, almost slipping a wheel onto the grass, the pair of them. And this is incredible racing right now from George Simmons, driving a car which does seem to be struggling down the straights. He's coming back at his rival. We have the outside for the next corner. Surely won't be able to go all the way around the outside Coram to get the inside for Murray's. He's getting good speed as the 63 machine, and now just behind them they've got Josh Thompson, who's come back for a 3rd bite at the cherry. And there's also a car as well just in front of them which seems to have quite a bit of damage. Now it's Williams, who was scraping along the ground, and also a car well off the circuit just behind them as well.
Yeah, I think that was Simon Trendle who went for a bit of grass cutting around the circuit. Managed to find his way back onto the track though. And George Simmons, who has a few times blinked in and out tonight, is doing the same again. And look at this, we've got some familiar teams, some not so familiar, some with new paint jobs, some with very old paint jobs, and some rookies, some level-headed guys that have been in this championship for many a year, all battling it out here on the media day. And hopefully this is just a taste of what we've got to look forward to once the season gets underway next week. Going down the Bentley straight, under the bridge. Watch out for Jamie Rushworth. Up the inside goes Evdoka. A little bit of contact between the 2 of them. And Rushworth has to go wide, which means That allows Ross McFarlane, the reigning champion, a little bit of a move up the inside, but just not able to get it done there. It's one of the few corners on this circuit where if you are on the outside, you're just about able to hold on to it just because of the way the corner is designed in terms of the camber. Here's the final corner through Murray's and onto the centre straight. New personal best there for Leitner with a 1:16.078. George Simmons into the pits. Now, he was struggling in a straight line, Sam, and I wonder if it may have been a meatball flag that may have done George Simmons in of race 1 or not. I'm not too sure on that one.
Maybe he's just dropping back. I'd hope more. I'd hope more from George. It contributes to the rule stocking. And we were concerned that Jazz were going to drop to the back of the order. I doubt that is the case. I think he's back out on circuit. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to have a better race 2 and race 3 as Kieran Harrison approaching the final corner in the lead, half a second ahead. It's been like that for the whole time. It's going to take race 1.
Well, it's not going to mean anything, but I'm sure, because it's not official, but I'm sure he'll still appreciate it anyway. Kieran Harrison wins the opening race of the day here on Media Day in the ARLTC, and Jason Cooper with his new team. He left Automech, but Swift Cooper Esports have definitely picked up from where they left off last season. Well, Jason Cooper has anyway with a P2. And Jack Cedric completes the podium. And Alex Simpson, well, he's been away for a while, but he has lost none of that speed, has he? And he has come home in 4th place at the end of race 1, with Norbert Leitner gaining 14 places to finish in P5. I wonder if he's just getting to know the car, or maybe just getting to know the series a little bit more as the race went along. And there he is, ending the first race of the day in P5. He'll be delighted with that. The top 10 rounded out then by Newman, Turnbull, Williams, Baker and Oscar Mangan. Former World Championship Grand Prix Series driver Oscar Mangan completes the top 10.
Simmons, by the way, fantastic from George. He clearly did this on purpose because it's a new rule for the championship. So before, if you got 17 incidents, then you got a drive-through penalty. Now it's 15. And George very helpfully, I'm sure, deliberately picked up those 15 incidents, or 18 he ended up with, and gave himself a drive-through just to demonstrate to us how that rule works. So thanks to George for that one.
Right then, it is time for a warm-up session, a 10-minute warm-up session, and then we'll be back for the feature race, which is another 20-minute race, 20 laps, 42 cars inverted. So that means it will be on the pole for the feature will be Adam Tompkins, who finished in I'm trying to do the maths now. Yeah, on the pole position for the feature race, it'll be Adam Tompkins. That's all you need to know. Second will be Ben Gregory. Third will be Mads Borger Anderson. Then Richard Carlson in 4th. Richard Carlson. Then Alex Sneller. Then Preben Val. Then Wojciech Savidovic, Marcel Fritsch, and Adrian Campfield and Mark Johnston completing the top 10 for Hesketh Racing. That's how they're set to line up on the grid for the feature.
Yeah, slightly larger reverse grid than I initially thought. It was going to be 30, but no, yeah, 42 reverse grid. A slightly, I don't want to call it an algorithm. I think an algorithm would flatter the way that we decide the reverse grid, but it can be in a range of about 5 numbers, depending on how many drives were in the previous round. So I think previously we've had, when maybe the entries drop off slightly at the end of the season, we may only have 30 drivers. And yet we still got 30 or 35 on the reverse grid. But this season should be a little bit better. We should adjust it as the season goes on, and should be a little bit more flexible and probably a little bit more safe as well for the drivers. Maybe some smaller reverse grids as we get to the end of the championship.
Yeah, and while we're on the warm-up session at the moment, let's give you a bit of info about the series. This is the ARLTC. It's been on iRacing under different guises for at least 7 years now, and formerly known as the BSRTC, then and the iRacing BTCC as well before that. We started covering the series on Apex Racing TV back in 2014. Back then it was the Kia Optima that was the car of choice, but in the last 18 months the Audi RS3 LMS has arrived onto the scene, and it's all the better for it. The Kia Optima was great, but the Audi has really taken this series up another level, and we are about to embark on a 13 race meeting campaign, which starts next week at Spa-Francorchamps on the 20th of August. After that, we head to the Far East, to Japan, to Okayama, former home of the Pacific Grand Prix. Round 3, Barber Motorsports Park, so we then head back over the Pacific to Alabama, to Birmingham, Alabama, for the Barber Motorsports round. Phillip Island in Australia, so we hop back over the Pacific again to the land down under. Phillip Island, host of the Australian MotoGP. Then we head back over the Pacific again to Circuit Park Zolder, Belgium's second best known racing circuit, host of the Belgian Grand Prix until 1983, I think. Looking forward to that one. Round 6 of the season is the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in Canada. Now that's a good track in these Audis, that'll be good. And then we head to the Charlotte Roval for the first time in the ARLTC. That is going to be mega. Really looking forward to that. Round 8, Laguna Seca. First time we've been to Monterey, California in quite some time. And then we head to Circuit de Catalunya, which is where the Formula 1 is heading to this weekend. It is hot in Barcelona. I wonder if the organisers will make it just as hot in the sim. Round 10 is going to be at Twin Ring Motegi. The second time in the season we'll be heading to the land of the rising sun. And the first time in a while that we'll be heading to Twin Ring Motegi as well. Usually race 3 takes place in darkness, so we'll be getting the floodlights on for that. That should be good. Round 11 is Monza. Now that is a classic in these Audi RS3 LMS TCR cars, because of course it means a lot of slipstreaming, and that then in turn means a lot of enjoyment for us. And then the final 2 rounds of the season, rounds 12 and 13, are at Donington Park, my favourite track on iRacing. They're going to have to try and keep me in the commentary box for that one. I love that track so much. And the final round of the season, which, unlike the last 5 years, has been at Daytona. We stay in Florida, but instead of being at Daytona, we're going to end the season at Sebring. And also, of course, it's going to be without the showdown as well. So the championship, for all we know, could be decided by then, but in all likelihood, I think it probably will still go down to that final round at Daytona, at Sebring, where we are going to crown another champion in the ARLTC. So that is a taster of what is to come over the next 13 weeks. What's that? So over the next over the next 3 and a bit months. Yeah. The last couple of rounds cannot be dropped. So the first 11 rounds, if you have a bad meeting or a couple of bad meetings, you can drop 2 of them. If you can drop your 2 worst scores. So you can retire from all 3 races. It's not the end of the world, as long as you don't do that too many times. Then that will just be scrapped. It won't be included in your points total. However, the last 2 rounds, Donington and Sebring, have to count. You can't drop them. And so we'll have a very good idea of what the championship scenario is with a couple of rounds of the season to go. And that should mean that it goes to the last round. Last season, Jack Cedric, in terms of overall points, won quite comfortably. He only finished, I believe it was 3rd place due to the showdown. I think on that occasion, maybe he would have had a points advantage big enough to seal the championship. But I think most seasons we see the championship will go down to the last round of the season, probably even the last race of the season. For that matter, 100 points available for the race winner. And I just remember Swidovic. She's passed a couple of seasons, to be fair, Adam, but particularly 2 seasons ago, where he didn't even finish in the top 10 in the normal season. I think he finished 13th, but got like 3 wins. Got the wildcard place into the showdown.
and then managed to win the title after that. I mean, you can't afford to take it easy for these first 3 quarters of the season. Now, if you have a bad round 1, you might be able to drop it, but you got to be on the ball straight away. You can't afford to have too many bad results in the first half of the season. That's going to be really strange for some of these veterans.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough, even for us commentators that have covered the season in this format, in the previous format for so long, because we'll be stuck in those ways. We've got to make sure we get that out of our system. And yeah, the showdown has been something to fall back on. If you do make a mistake at a particular race meeting, just think, well, all I've got to do is make sure I get in the top 10 in points with a couple of races to go, and then I've got a shout of the championship, because the points will be closed right back up again. No such rules this season. If you have 2 bad race meetings, then you are really up against it if you want to get the title. And of course, if you're new, there are several titles up for grabs. You've got obviously the drivers title, which the pros are almost certainly going to be battling it out for. Then you've got the Pro-Am Championship, which is for the drivers that are in the Pro-Am category, which is the blue on your timing tower. And then we've got the Teams Championship and the Pro-Am Teams Championship. So the Pro-Am teams are the teams that have are basically made up of Pro-Am drivers, and that's how it is decided there. So just over a minute. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think the Teams Championship will be a little bit more valuable this season, because when you got multiple drivers in a team, I think it's quite good to have kind of a longer season. You got to plug away at it. You got no drop rounds for the Teams Championship, so it's going to be a lot of pressure is being put on the drivers. You do get basically a drop drive, so you can have 2 or 3 drivers in your team. If you have 3 drivers, only your top 2 higher scoring drivers contribute to your team score. But there's still a lot of pressure. Again, before the pressure was off, and it was very easy to get into the showdown and have your points reset, and then it was just a 3 or 4 race shootout. Now you've got a lot more pressure on each of the drivers to score the team some points, and I think at the end of the season that Teams Championship is going to be worth a little bit more in the past before you could kind of luck it a bit. I think that's going to be the most hard-earned title of them all this season.
Checkered flag is out, which means it is the end of the warm-up session, and in a moment we'll be getting down to the grid for the feature race. And let's run you through the grid then. Why not then? We've got 45 cars. Let's run you through how they're going to start. On the pole position, it's Adam Tompkins, then it's Ben Gregory, then it's Mads Borger Andersen in third, Richard Carlson in fourth for Hell Racers, Alex Neller in P5, sixth for Preben Val, the Valle, the Norwegian, Wojciech Savidovic in seventh, Marcel Fritsch in eighth for WS Racing Esport, ninth for Adrian Campfield, and then completing the top 10 is Mark Johnston. 11th for Joachim Gulbrandsen, and then Austin Foster completing the top 12. 13th on the grid is Simon Field, then Pierre-Yves Dissouete in the Belgian. I hope I got that right. 15th is John Roberts, then it's Rob Sutherland, Luke Kidsley, then Toby Ward, Scott Malcolm, and Baron Glover completing the top 20. And there is our pole sitter, Adam Tompkins. I don't think we're going to be able to get through the rest of them before the lights come on. No, we are not. It is a 40-plus car grid. Here come the lights then. When they go out, the feature race will be underway. Another 20-minute race. The lights are out and away we go here at Snetterton. Oh, very struggling away from the start there was Adam Tompkins. He's going to get swamped by both sides as there's tyres flying at the back. Our contacts there between Mads Borger Andersen. The 17 car is going to drift wide, very wide, almost into the field here at Snetterton. And out of all of that, who's going to take the lead into the Wilson hairpin? I think it's going to be Alex Neller, as there's a bit of a bottleneck yet again here at the hairpin. But I think everybody's just about got through without too many major incidents. But here we go on to the Bentley Straight Stand, and some cars are going to be entering it very slow. Some are going to be arriving at a fair rate of knots. So I don't think the intrigue's going to be over yet as they get on the brakes at the end of the straight.
Yeah, here comes Valor as well, trying to overtake Nella. Oh, Nella's very deep. He just about got it stopped, but that's going to leave him very vulnerable as we got Beastie car in the background. That's John Roberts. He did
Oh,
go up
well.
at that corner earlier on as well. Nella, I think, has just about held on. They're side by side at the moment for the race lead through Coram and into Murray's. And just got part of his car alongside. Can he dive back down the inside? Is there going to be contact between the two of them? There isn't. And Prudent Vala, I believe in his first ARLTC race, is leading the way for TC Motorsports. They are one of the favourites for the amateur category. At the moment, he's flattering his amateur rating at the moment, driving very well. But Nella Gregory Swidovic up into 4th place, up 3 places is Swidovic so far from 7th. He's just trying to fight off Rikard Carlson at the moment. As I say, he'll be able to hold on to that one. Vala at the moment not pulling away from the rest of the order.
Moves every way you look here. Oh, watch out there. That's Ross McFarlane and Austin Foster. Oh, bosh, they have a little bit of a knock again, and someone's been around. That's another boosted, 2 boosted cars off there. That was, I think it was Sean Gardner and being Lee Berridge. 2 cars off there, but they've both been able to carry on. Rob Sutherland also in a bit of bother, and I think Alex Nella might have just taken the lead back, you know, going into the left-hander at the end of the straight. There we are. Boosted Motorsport car back in front. Then it's Proven Valor, the Norwegian. Problem for his compatriot, Mads Borger Anderson, who's dropping down the order as you can see on the timing screen. Alex Nella runs wide though on the XR Murrays, and that will put pay to his lead. Proven Valor retakes it. TC Motorsport back into the lead. Ben Gregory up into 2nd. Wojciech Svidovic for the first time this evening, I think, up into the top 3 as he sets the fastest lap of the race at the end of lap 2.
It's really weird seeing a number 1 on not Swidovic's car. I just naturally think whenever I see the number 1 there, it's Swidovic, but not for this season, for the first time in a while. It's going to be a little bit of a tap from Nella behind. He'll be furious. He's made a couple of mistakes, which have cost him the race lead twice. Newman's off the track now. Lots of dirt being thrown out. Fantastic effects that iRacing have added to the dirt in the last couple of years. As Newman gets a big tap round, he should be tapped in the right direction again. Here comes Swidovic. He wants to take the lead right or take 2nd place right away so he can set on catching up to the race leader. He's gone slightly wide there, Swidovic, not being able to get back past was Ben Gregory there. He's up into the, was up into 2nd place, but now just drops to the bottom step of the podium. This pack goes all the way back to George Simmons back in 9th position, by the way. So a mistake will send you right to the back edge of the top 10.
Well, this is brilliant because at the moment, even though it's an unofficial race meeting, we are on course to have 2 first-time winners. Harrison in race 1, and here we are with Proven Valor leading the way at the end of lap 3. Of course, once we get to Spa next week, this race meeting will, of course, pale into insignificance. But right now, it's brilliant to see. Josh Thompson puts in a fastest lap of the race, 1:16.4, as Ben Gregory tries to eye up the podium. Wojciech Svidovic taking an interesting line there through the Wilson hairpin, and probably not the best line because here comes Alex Nella, the boosted Motorsports car, latching right onto the back of the Apex Racing team car. And is he going to try and take 2nd place back when we get onto the brakes at the end of the straight? Wojciech Svidovic puts the car in the right position. That means he's able to keep his 2nd place. Oh no, that is boosted Calamity Corner, isn't it? And that is Simon Field that joins the growing list of boosted cars that have been in that grass and runoff area. Oh, and he's been joined by Marcel Fritsch, the Austrian, racing for WS Racing Esports. He's gone off, also off Mark Woodhouse in the Team Mad car. So problems for all 3 of those. They all look like they were either assisted off or just couldn't stop for the right-hander at the end of the backstraight.
Yeah, it's such a tricky corner in whatever car you're driving. It always just seems to run out the exit. It's very narrow, that corner, and it always feels as though you carry a little bit too much speed in. Of course, if you try to cut it as well, you take a load of cover, which even these cars can't deal with. Leitner was like lightning in race 1. That's going to be an overused pun, I'm sure, this season. But he's round the outside for HM Engineering, which are not H2M Engineering, as I thought earlier on. from the ARLTC Championship. Totally different team. Thanks to those guys for making that one confusing. Richard Carlson in 6th place. I know you can see how many amateur drivers are actually up in the top places at the moment. George Simmons isn't one of them, but he's trying to get into the top positions, and he is up into 7th place then, past Carlson. And Gregory's had an issue. Not sure what happened to Gregory there, but he was up in 2nd place at one point, back down into 8th now.
Yeah, he ran wide on the exit of the little Wilson hairpin and left-hander onto the back straight, and that's resulted in him losing quite a lot of places, to be fair, down to 8th place. Oh, and he gets almost rear-ended by Carlson, who runs wide at the exit of the final corner and gets overtaken by Ross McFarlane, whose front end looks a lot better than it did in race 1. Over the line they go then, and it is a 1.2 second lead for Bala. Then it's Wojciech in 2nd place, and that is Mark Johnston in 4th in the foreground of the shot that is trying to keep the whole world at bay. We spoke to the Hesketh Racing driver at the beginning of the show, and well, he's definitely a driver you don't forget after that interview. And with delivery, I don't think it's something that the drivers that are following him will be quick to forget either, as Adrian Campfield gets a face full of the rear end of that Audi RS3. George Simmons. Oh, there we go. That's probably why. George Simmons is through into 5th. He's overtaken Adrian Campfield at the inside, and he is through into 5th place. 17 places gained for George Simmons. Apex Racing Team, if they can have him for the whole season, will be lucky to have him here, because he's proven so far today he is able to get he's able to gain quite a lot of positions in this one as they go into the final corner.
Yeah, hopefully all these Apex guys will be able to commit to the series. Unfortunately, we saw George having to kind of pull away from the series last championship, and Alex as well, earlier on in the championship. Of course, former runner-up, of course, was Simpson, or maybe 3rd place, I'm not sure. Round the outside goes Simmons, dancing from one side to the other. He was making a couple of extra corners for himself down the front straight, and very nearly contact with Johnston. Simmons just puts the car into the middle of the circuit. Nice move there. He's been able to move his way up through the order well. That was almost a bowling pin or dominoes effect there for Campfield. He was well on the brakes, locking up the tyres, but stopped. I think he lost a place to McFarlane and all that, and McFarlane's up 20 places, by the way. Simmons up 18. Also, Jack Cedric up 26 so far.
Parked it on the Apex there, did he? He did, and...
Oh, Nella.
Oh, and off. It's another boosted car. It's it's Alex Nella, as you said. I think they've all gone off there pretty much. Now I think they've completed the set, and Alex Nella is now down to 7th place. Adrian Campfield's getting by, and Ross McFarlane is up into 5th place. 21 places gained for Ross. I don't mean the win is achievable. He's 6 seconds away from Prabhan Vala, our leader, but you can see there from the graphic on the timing tower, he's gained 21 places. The biggest move in the field is Jack Cedric, who's been a title contender for the last 2 seasons at least. He's gained 27 places, and he's got a new livery for this season. He's gone for the all black with the very thin stripes of blue there, which does look pretty good if you got the right time period of sun on it as they go into the Wilson hairpin yet again. Incidentally, that tree that you can see in some of the shots we've got, it's on this kind of iRacing. I don't think it's actually there anymore. I think it got blown over in a storm, a bit like the oak tree at Virginia, as Wojciech Savidovic has taken the lead at the end of the back straight. But he was in the lead, he's not anymore, because Prabhan Vala has just gone back up the inside going into the bomb hole.
That was, well, just to word on the skate sheet, we've got a scenic camera as well, which I'm sure you probably would have seen earlier on in the stream, where we've got the camera looking at the skate sheet. So very much immortalised, a bit like Oran Park and the Oak Tree, as you say, at VIR on iRacing. But yeah, I do believe it was blown down about a year ago. Incredible the pace that Savidovic has had. Vala looks so quick early on, easily pulling away from the other amateur drivers. But Savidovic has been closing in by about half a second a lap. Got to get past quick, because as you can see, Simmons is closing in very quickly. McFarlane will be on his way as well. And no way through there for Savidovic. He's got 4 seconds, so he's basically got 4 laps to get this one done. Otherwise, Simmons will get involved and potentially could get quite tricky for him. However, they are teammates, of course, so you'd hope at least that they don't crash into one another. Vala having to both cut to the inside of the circuit, not an easy way to defend, so wide, and also the outside turns into the inside. It's unsure where you want to be. Round the outside goes to Swidovic. They both make contact, and that's going to hand the lead to George Simmons, surely. Vala's got to be careful when he rejoins, and Simmons was having to take evasive action. Swidovic has taken an age and a half to get back on circuit, and I think it was an unsafe rejoin for Vala, and that has caused quite a mess down at that corner.
Oh, poor Matthew Turnbull's been involved in that as well, and no idea how he was involved in all of that, but he somehow has been tipped around. And I think Brevin Vala is retired back to the pits. Well, obviously it's not the end of the world for him because it's just a media day race after all, but I think he will be pretty pleased, pretty satisfied with how he did in those 10 laps, or 9.5 laps before he got involved in that incident with Wojciech, and he'll be hoping to carry that forward into the season itself when it gets underway at Spa next week. Shame to miss him. Now it is a Apex Racing Team 1-2 with Alex Sneller in third, and battling away here is Richard Coulson in, I've got to say, a very good livery there in the Hell Racers. They've got a hair-raising livery, that's for sure. And then it's Ben Gregory in fifth for Free Spires Motorsport, with Jamie Wilson, who we spoke to earlier on in the stream for Team Chimera, up 15 places in P6 here. So some of the newbies are doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, and Gregory just slots in second in this train. We've got a couple of drivers off, Tompkins and Johnston. Johnston was fighting at the front for so long. I think he was up in fourth place at one point, and it looks as though he's got too much damage. And that's going to be the end of the day for the car number 629. No, maybe he's going to carry on, but that looks very much out of control when he was on the grass. Good to see new drivers join the championship always, along with the very experienced drivers. Well, we often see the experienced drivers stay along for the entire season. A few of the newbies tend to join and then maybe leave later on in the championship. But hopefully we see these guys throughout. It should be a very competitive amateur championship in particular, because some of the drivers I think are really impressive this season. Leitner and McFarlane. So McFarlane got involved in all of that as well. He was up into fourth position, fell back, and now he's having to do a lot of his work again. Both of them really deep on the brakes. Williams will try to take advantage of this one as he looks to the inside, contact between the two of them, and somehow there's no change in the order between the three of them. However, Harrison might be able to go around the outside. Harrison a little bit under the radar. He's up 28 places now.
It's so difficult not to run into the car in front of you going into that corner. It really is, and you could see with these drivers here, the likes of Harrison and Williams and McFarlane, for good measure, just how close it was to almost happening again there. We've just got over 5 minutes to go then in the second race of the evening. There will be 3 races once the season itself gets underway. A slightly tweaked timing schedule for this evening, so we could get a few drivers in for a quick word. Adrian Campfield then here in 8th place. He started 9th, he's gained 1 place, and he's currently trying to keep Michael Avdoka at bay. Michael, who went backwards as race 1 went along, but here in race 2 he has been he's been going forward, and he's now trying to get by the fiercely forward car the inside. Now the damage to the front end implies that he might not have too many incident points left, but he's definitely quite eager to get by, and he might now be under pressure from Mads Borger Andersen, who we saw going off after trying to get the lead early on at the start of the race.
Gregory holding firm in 5th place. He's been up and down quite a bit. Here comes Wilson though. Team Chimera, apologies, what's that? Apologies, Cedric. Apologies for that. I was thinking, oh dear, if Chimera are running a very similar livery to Cedric, then that's going to be very confusing, but no. There's a few different ones. So far, I haven't seen any repetitive liveries out there. I mean, I stand to be corrected, but I think the teams have done pretty well at doing a variation this season. Last season, I think we had quite a lot of white and blue. they go up and down, do these schemes in terms of being used, but this season I think there's a little bit more of a range.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I know it's a bit of a pet peeve of Andrew Woodhouse. Oh, up the inside goes the fiercely forward car there. Adrian Campfield trying to get by Team Chimera's Jamie Wilson. They're going to go at it down the Bentley straight. I think Wojciech Svidovic is under serious pressure for the lead, but or has taken the lead away from George Simmons, I should say. But and there you are. Wojciech Svidovic was off earlier, but George Simmons, who had taken the lead, is now no longer in front. It is still an Apex Racing Team 1-2, but it is now the former champion that leads the way, as opposed to George Simmons. So not too sure what happened there, but yeah, there's been a change for position at the front with just over 3 minutes to go as Simmons runs wide, and that grass looks like it's very long and very deep there on the exit of the final corner, because it just digs in, and now he's under severe pressure from Alex Nella, who will switch to the outside going into the first corner. Is he going to try and do the old cutback? No, he thinks about it. Maybe up the inside into Wilson. Let's see if he does it there. He thinks about sending it. Look how close he gets under braking there, and now to the Bentley straight. Wasn't the best exit really, was it, for the boosted car? And now Simmons can just stretch his legs a little bit and extend the gaps for half a second.
Svidovic nearly off the circuit. Turn 1 was mega wide right there. Did well to not dip onto the grass and go. Of course, new grass model. I say new grass model, new graphics for the grass is coming, which I'm sure GPUs around the world will be absolutely loving. But it should look good on our stream. Sam Kumo, who's broadcasting this, I imagine his computer should be able to deal with the extra load, and it should look a little bit bad. I think it already looks all right. But I think particularly close-ups, I think it's going to look even better in the near future. I think that'll be the next season build in a couple, in about a month's time. When that is released, maybe a month and a half. Cedric looks as though he's going to make up another place here. This time on Ben Gregory. That's 4 places now gained for Cedric. He's going to be able to take that. I don't believe you get a bonus point for it, but still something for the car number 3 to be pleased about. Might be the points highest scorer today as well. To the outside again. Gregory knows where to position his car. I call it an Interlagos race where he managed to defend against someone for 50 minutes in the Daytona prototype. Was losing about 2 seconds left, but he kept track position. And managed to do pretty well on that one. So he does know how to defend, does Gregory, and he's showing that right now.
Oh, that's extraordinary. Just over a minute to go. When we get to line, we're going to be starting the final lap. Here comes Cedric up the inside, but as we've seen so far tonight, all you've got to do really is just stay on the racing line, and you should be able to stay ahead. A little bit of contact between the two there, but Gregory's just able to stay ahead through the bomb hole. Now through Coram, the long right-hander. And how many cars are in this train? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think at least. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, I think, all the way back to Williams. Through the final corner, he is very close to getting in that lethal grass, and into the pits comes Jack Cedric. So that might be because of the amount of incidents he's picked up. I mean, it's the final lap of the race.
Yeah, a couple of drivers getting incidents. No, Svidovic is alright. I think he's alright. Sorry, there's a few drivers with 15 or 17 or whatever, so I don't be surprised if you see a few drivers opt into the pits, and we might even see some post-race penalties as well. You wouldn't think it'd be an issue around this circuit to pick up the incidents, but that'll certainly be a feature for the rest of the championship. Svidovic holding on. You do wonder what Nella could have done, don't you? I mean, he had 2 offs, didn't he, which yielded the race win, or the race lead at least, and maybe the race win. As going very tight just behind, but not going to be much opportunities for overtakes from here. Looks like it's going to be a nice start to the season for Apex Racing Team. They're going to get a 1-2 finish.
Well, we've seen it all tonight. Race 1, we had a new team and a new driver win the first race, but here we are in race 2, and it's going to be the familiar faces that rise back to the top again Wojciech Davidovich wins the second race here at Snetterton, with George Simmons in second and Alex Snello on his return to the championship, completing the podium places. Richard Carlson finishes in fourth, the highest of the Pro-Ams as well. Adrian Campfield fifth, and the top 10 rounded out by Gregory Wilson, Jamie Wilson for Team Chimera, who we spoke to earlier. Mads Borger Anderson, Michael Evdoka in ninth, 22 places gained, and completing the top 10 is Craig Williams.
Yeah, I think everyone will. It was pretty feisty out there today. I thought the drivers would relax a little bit. I think it was better driving than they. Oh my goodness, the driving on this. Oh no, they're ruining it. They're absolutely ruining it, guys. I think the driving was better than what we saw at race 1 at Mid-Ohio. I recall the 60 odd incidents I had to go through for stewarding on that occasion. I think the driving was a little bit better today. Oh, come on, guys, stop proving my point wrong. They're losing bumpers and all sorts right now. But no, certainly a good bedding in for the drivers. And I don't think it gives away too much in terms of who's got the edge on pace. I think really there's still 10 or 11 drivers who can win the Pro Championship, or 10 or 11 drivers who can win the Amateur Championship as well. So certainly a good day for some of the newbies. I think they're going to be very pleased with how they managed to perform today. That's a big one. I don't think you're meant to do that after the race. I think there's a rule against it, but it is only the media day.
Smoke everywhere. I think some of the drivers have been testing out the handbrake, I think. It looked like some cars were on T-trays as they were going down the back straight there. There's Michael Evdoka, Pure Sims OBP. Easy for me to say. And he's getting a helpful hand back to the pits by the 13 boosted car, which is Adam Hedgecock, who we spoke to earlier on. Here are the finishing results then from the unofficial media day here at Snetterton in Norfolk. It's Wojciech Davidovich that wins. 0.2 of a second ahead of George Simmons. Alex Snella in third. Oh god, that Audi doesn't sound healthy, does it? Richard Carlson in fourth. Completing the top 5, Ben Gregory. Then it's Jamie Wilson for Team Chimera. I've got to say, just also Richard Carlson, Hell Racers, up in 4th place. That's a job well done for them. Mads Borger in 7th. 8th for Michael Evdoka. 9th for Craig Williams and Matthew Turnbull completing the top 10. Kieran Harrison, the race 1 winner, in 11th. P1 in race 1, P11 in race 2. Pete Newman in 12th. 13th for Jason Cooper. Then Austin Foster, Scott Malcolm, Jack Cedric, the independent this year, in 16th. Oscar Mangan in 17th place, car 999. Sean Gardner 18th, John Roberts 19th, and Ross McFarlane completing the top 20. He drifted back, Ross McFarlane there. I'm not too sure what resulted in that. I don't think he came into the pits at all. Lee Beveridge 21st, 22nd place for Mark Woodhouse. Then it's Simon Field, Adrian Campfield, then Rob Sutherland, Toby Ward in 26th. Then there's Dave Baker in 27th place. Matthias Sower in 28th for WS Racing Esports. 29th for Joachim Gorbranson, the Norwegian. Adam Hedgecock in 30th. Baron Glover for 1 lap down in 31st place. And then Norbert Leitner, the Hungarian, showed signs of promise today. Marcel Fritsch, we saw him off earlier, in 33rd place. Then Adam Tompkins, the pole sitter. Mark Johnston, 7 laps down in the end. Preben Val, early signs of promise for him. He was leading the first half of the race before the incident down at the right-hander. Josh Thompson, I think, was involved in that. He finished 8 laps down. Philip Johansson for Hell Racers, we spoke to him briefly. 12 laps down. Jamie Rusher, problems for him. Pierre-Yves de Suete in 40th place. Then Luke Kidsley, Simon Trendle. There's Alex Simpson. Not too sure what happened to him. And then there's Darius Neidhart in the DOT.exe esports. God, bit of a throwback to LimeWire, that. And then Adam Hadfield in 45th for Swift Cooper esports. 16 laps down. Have we got any more after that, or is that it? think that is it. Yeah, from the opening, well, the prelude to the opening race meeting of the season. Right, we are just about out of time, but before we let you go, before we go, Sam, final thoughts on the media day. I know you're filling in for Andrew Woodhouse today, but I know you'll have a bit of a part to play in terms of how the season goes on behind the scenes. And well, I think we're in for an absolute classic here, because some of the new teams and new drivers are really taking it to some of the experienced heads already.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. We always see experience though in these types of championships be absolutely crucial, don't we? I think this and World GT that we used to broadcast, and also I remember the Euro V8 Supercar series as well. When you have kind of these big many drivers in a race, and it comes down to kind of the attrition, often the experienced drivers can just use that knowledge to their advantage. So if one of the new drivers can get in amongst them and fight for either championship, the team's championship or either the drivers' championship, it would be extremely impressive. Looking forward to having Woody back in the commentary box next week. I'll get out my dartboards for when I do the stewarding. Best of luck to the drivers is all I can say, because there's some hefty penalties that the darts will decide who gets. So best of luck to the drivers.
Maybe that's where the reverse grid wheel's gone. You've now modified it
to.
to.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
What penalty shall I give him? I don't know. Maybe that's just an idea. Yeah, we will be back on the iRacing Esports Network next week. A week on Thursday, just after 8 o'clock BST, for 3 races to get the ARLTC Championship underway. We can't wait for it. Hopefully you can join me and Andrew Woodhouse, who incidentally has got a very powerful PC lined up for next week, so he'll be able to view it in all its glory. Hopefully you can join us for it as well. But for me, from Sam, and from Sam Kumo, who has done a brilliant job on the cameras and the graphics all night, from here at Snetterton, bye for now.